Hey, how's it going out there? In this video, I'm going to review 10 reasons why a green card holder or legal permanent resident should become a U.S. citizen. My name is Rodrigo Canido. I'm an immigration attorney and I do videos on different immigration topics and how to get legal status in the United States. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Alright, so let's get right into it. The first reason why you should switch to becoming a U.S. citizen is travel. If you're like me and you like to travel outside the United States, one great advantage about being a U.S. citizen is you're not limited in how long you can travel outside of the country. So obviously a green card holder can also travel outside the United States. However, if they travel for over a year, it could appear as if they have abandoned their residency. And more than that, even if they don't travel for over a year, if they travel for long periods of time, maybe 9, 10, 11 months, regularly, right? It could look like the United States is not really their home, okay? So that could affect their legal status. U.S. citizens, they don't have to worry about that, all right? The next reason is voting, right? In November of 2024, we just had an election, right? People voted for president. Now, for me, elections are really, really important, right? So if they're important to you and it's important for you to decide who's the president of the United States, obviously you need to be a U.S. citizen. So you cannot vote for the president if you're just a green card holder, right? You have to be a U.S. citizen. So that would be another reason to make yourself a U.S. citizen. All right. Besides that, work. You'd be shocked to know, as a green card holder, you can work in the United States legally, of course, right? But you are somewhat limited, all right? So the federal government generally requires that people who work for them are U.S. citizens. Now, there are some exceptions to this, but generally, from my research, they are U.S. citizens. Now you might say, well, I don't care about working for the federal government. Okay, well there's actually many private companies that also work directly with the federal government. And for security reasons, those private companies may also consider hiring people who are U.S. citizens, because they will be working with the government. So for practical reasons, for security reasons, it might make sense for them just to try to hire folks who are U.S. citizens, and that may limit your ability to find work. All right. The next one is deportations. Why do I say deportations? So if you're a green card holder, right, you can work and live legally in the United States, of course, but there's a lot of ways you can lose your status. All right. You can lose your status if you commit very serious crimes. All right, you can lose your status for immigration violations. Versus if you're a U.S. citizen, even if you commit a serious crime, you're not going to be deported. You're not going to, be deported from the United States. So you have a lot more, I would say, security once you're a U.S. citizen in maintaining your legal status in the United States. It's not something you really have to worry about once you actually become a U.S. citizen. All right. All right, the next one is benefits. So as someone who is a U.S. citizen, you may be eligible for certain government benefits here in the United States. All right, now some folks who have green cards or legal permanent residents are also eligible for those benefits, but there may be some limitations if you're not at least a U.S. citizen. One example I can think of is supplemental security income. All right, this is a benefit you receive when you're older in retirement, right, by the government. So U.S. citizens are eligible for that particular benefit. So if benefits are something you're looking to access at some point, either now or in the future, becoming a U.S. citizen may help you achieve that. All right, the next one is paperwork. Why do I say paperwork? All right, so as a green card holder, right, generally you have to renew that green card, which means paperwork, right? You have to renew it. If you want to travel outside the United States for longer than a year, you need to apply for a re-entry permit, so more paperwork. And I don't know about you, but if I could avoid paperwork, right, just to make my life easier, I'd probably do it. Because once you become a U.S. citizen, that's it. There's no more paperwork. There's no more, additional work you have to do. You have your status, your citizenship. You can travel as long as you want. You can work freely in the United States. There's just so much freedom involved once you're a U.S. citizen living in the United States. Okay, so paperwork is one big reason I'd say you should become a U.S. citizen. Another one is actually helping your family get legal status in the United States. All right, so if you're a U.S. citizen, you could help your spouse get her green card. You could help your parents get a green card. And now, legal permanent residents can also help family members get legal status, right? But generally, they're a little bit more limited than someone who is a U.S. citizen. One of the biggest benefits of being a U.S. citizen is if, say, for example, you petition your spouse, there's no, 10, 15 years of waiting for a visa to be available. It's, you apply, and the only time you're going to have to wait is the processing time for immigration, all right? Now, that could still be a little bit lengthy, but it's not going to be like 10, 15 years generally, right? Like, other family categories, all right? The same for your parents, all right? So if your spouse, if your parents, if they qualify for a green card, right, it's not just enough that they're related to you. There's a lot of other factors immigration looks at, but if they're qualified, they don't have to wait for a visa to be available many years from now, okay? It's quicker, all right? The next one is if you have children, right? Do you want your children to be U.S. citizens? Well, it doesn't matter if they're born here, right? As of the law right now, right? The Constitution says if you're born here, you're a U.S. citizen, generally, right? But even if you have children outside the United States, if you're a U.S. citizen, they may still get citizenship, all right? Just because they're related to you. Now, that could get a little bit tricky, the exact circumstances on how they would get that citizenship. But if that's something that's important to you, if you have a child that's born outside the United States in another country, that's another benefit of being a U.S. citizen, having your children become U.S. citizens as well. All right. Another one is running for office, running for federal office. So if you've ever thought about running for the House of Representatives, if you thought about running for Senate, you have to be a U.S. citizen. And you have to be a U.S. citizen for a certain period of time. For president, if you're actually interested in running for president, you also have to be a U.S. citizen, but there are restrictions on how you became a U.S. citizen, all right? But for those other positions, House of Representatives and Senate, if you're a U.S. citizen and have been one for a specific period of time, then you can actually run for office. All right. Now the last one, and this goes back to travel, all right? When you're a U.S. citizen, you have a lot of flexibility in traveling around the globe, all right? So for my research, there's at least 180 countries or more that allow U.S. citizens to travel to their country without needing a visa or not having to apply for a visa ahead of time. I believe in some situations you'd apply for a visa once you're there. But the point is, it's very flexible for U.S. citizens to travel, right? If you're a U.S. citizen, you're going to have a U.S. passport, right? And it just makes your life much easier. So if you're someone who travels a lot, who wants to travel to different places outside the United States, it might be in your interest just to get that citizenship and make your life much easier. All right? Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. And if you'd like me to review your particular case, maybe you're interested in applying for citizenship or some of the legal status, feel free to contact me. Thank you.